on Wednesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're having a community clean slate briefing. I'm sure a lot of you heard about the new clean slate legislation, which automatically clears eligible records for people who have completed their sentence and have remained crime-free. There will also be public defenders on site to provide free confidential legal advice about specific cases. And there will also be reentry and employment services available at this event. So as we all know, people who have committed crimes, they do deserve a second chance. Those that have, completed their sentences and have moved on and have lived, moved on from that experience and lived a crime-free life. But oftentimes, because they have these things on their record, it precludes them from getting meaningful housing, meaningful employment, and there are a lot of barriers. So the clean slate legislation hopefully hopes to address that. The event is going to be in Harlem. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at First Corinthian Baptist Church, 1912 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. And we are going to be joined, of course, by the Honorable DA, Alvin Bragg, but also our new council member, Yusuf Salam, as well as Pastor Michael Waldron. So I hope you can join us, and I will definitely look into partnering with our electeds up here to see if we could bring a similar event here to Washington Heights and Inwood. And then the second thing that I wanted to announce is January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And, our office is doing an all-out effort out in the community to make sure that we raise awareness on human trafficking. I know for one, before I started working here for the DA, when I heard human trafficking, I thought it was something that happened overseas, something that happened far away. But human trafficking happens here in our own neighborhoods, sex trafficking, labor trafficking. So we are partnering with the Northern Manhattan Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and we're hosting an event, a human trafficking forum, this coming Saturday here at the Alianza Triangle Building on the second floor from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I hope that you can help us spread the word, and I also hope that you can join us to hear of the efforts undertaken by our office and NYPD and what we as a community can do to make sure that we are aware and we are vigilant to human trafficking. And then finally, I would like to introduce the newest member of my team. I am super excited to have this young lady join us. She is on the call. Her name is Fernanda Lujan. She was in our office downtown in our main office, and I snatched her away. And she is now part of the Washington Heights and Inwood team. And I'll let her say hello really quickly, if I may, Madam President.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Fernanda Lujan. I am the new Community Engagement Coordinator for the Washington Heights office. I look forward to seeing you in these community board meetings, as well as getting to know each and every one of you if we have any in-person meetings in the future. Thank you.
And that is all that I have for tonight. Thank you again for having us, and look forward to a strong 2024 with my partners in Community Board 12.
I wanted to ask Jocelyn a brief question on the Clean Slate initiative. When would all be eligible for a clean slate? What about people who were child pornographers, people who engaged in human trafficking, people who engaged in violent multiple murders?
So if you're engaged in violent multiple murders, you're probably not going to be out on the street, Barbara. But these are all wonderful questions, and I welcome you to join us tomorrow so that these questions can be addressed. But the short answer is no. But you should come and learn to see, what crimes are eligible for clean slate.
Okay, but not all crimes are eligible.
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's the important question. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that. All right, thank you, Jocelyn. And Fernanda, we're right next door, so you can always come on down to the board office and the team. Next up, we have our council member, Carmen De La Rosa, or one of her staffers.
Hi, it'll be me, Jamila.
Oh, hey, Jamila, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to start by saying hi, everyone, good evening, and just kind of giving an update on from between December into January. Committee assignments have changed, so I just wanted to update everybody on that. Councilmember De La Rosa continues being the chair of Civil Service and Labor, so we're very happy about that. But now she's part of the Health Committee, Education Committee, Immigration Committee, continues being part of Public Housing and Public Safety, State and Federal Legislation, Fire Emergency Management, and then the Subcommittee on Landmark Public City Sightings and Dispositions. As you guys know, redistricting happened after the census. So just a little quick update. We have from 155th Street to 164th Street between Edgecombe and Broadway. And then the other section is Sean Abreu's. And then we have the entire community between 164 Street all the way down to 228th Street. So continue sending us any information or cases or things that are going on within those district lines. Two things that are coming up in February. Actually, I'll start first with the January one. The City Council FY25 discretionary funding applications are officially open. The deadline is February 20th. We're having our budget forum for the community for our CBOs, sorry, on January 31st at 6 p.m. in Alianza. I'll make sure to send that out to Ebenezer so it could be shared with the community and also the community board members. And then that's also in our social media. Then on February 10th, we're having a very important event. It's called the People's Assembly. It is part of our co-governance initiative, and it's the first assembly where we're bringing the whole community to discuss Carmen's vision for her next 2 years, and hopefully 4 more after that, and also get feedback from the community on what can be focused legislative-wise, community-wide, and so forth. That's going to be February 10th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's a survey that we're asking people to fill out beforehand, an RSVP link. Again, I'll make sure to share that out with Ebenezer so it could be shared out, and I'll also put it in the chat after I'm done. We're also partnering with the Tax and Limousine Commission to have a mobile office day. It's going to be at Alianza as well. That's going to be February 9th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So if you have any type of cases like that, please send them my way so that we can make sure that they're invited. And you're going to hear this multiple times, I'm sure, from other council member representatives about the How Many Stops Act and the solitary confinement ban. They were both vetoed by the mayor. And on February 8th is the next city council stated, and the council members will be voting for or against the mayor's veto. And I'll report on that as we get to that. And that's all.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamila. All right, I don't see any hands. So last and certainly not least for this portion will be Maria de la Cruz on behalf of our Borough President's Office, Mark Twain. She's on in-person social media. And I think, oh, I'm sorry, Edgar, I didn't have you. Edgar, I got you right after Marielen. And then let me double check the camera. Sorry, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Mariel de la Cruz. I'm here representing Borough President Mark Levine. When she said my name at first, I thought I was going to get a standing ovation, and I was severely disappointed. So maybe we need a little more energy today. I was a little thrown off. There you go. Thank you. So just wanted to say a few things from our office. Importantly, people have mentioned, but I'm going to mention again, community board applications are now open. We've received quite a few applications, but we want to make sure that it is diverse in age, class, color, all sorts of beautiful things to ensure that all communities are represented appropriately. I also wanted to say Happy New Year. I haven't seen a lot of you all here. I know it is late January, that gets annoying, but I haven't seen most of you all. So I wanted to make sure to say that. Wanted to share a few things that we've done. One is breaking the cycle. We released a policy report talking about the city's moral obligation to build a better system that all New Yorkers with serious mental health illnesses acting boldly and quickly to address human tragedies as they may continue to unfold in this city. So some of the things that we have called upon is to expand the number of long-term psychiatric beds. I know that's a major issue here in Community Board 12. Increase initiatives to address the severe shortage of clinical staff, provide concrete steps to develop more supportive housing, expand community-based and peer-led programs, and a whole bunch of other programming as well. So if you have questions about that, feel free to get me offline. I could share the report with you. And then I also wanted to share that it is budget season again. So we will be taking capital budget requests. Our budget unit hosted 2 webinars for public school, city agencies, and not-for-profits applying for capital funding. To learn about the requirements, please go on our website, find me or Porfirio Figueroa offline, and the deadline is February 22nd. Wanted to lastly mention, and I know I'm reading, I usually don't read off of things, but there's a lot of information, that we will be hosting a few events. We have one big event that we're still working on February 13th. That is a small business kind of networking session, and we'll share more information with that once we have all of the details. February 20th, we'll be hosting our Black History Month event at City College. We will also be hosting our State of the Borough, which is going to be March 3rd. It's an opportunity to learn the initiatives of the past year and the next year from Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to let me know if you have any questions, concerns. And we're also planning an event for Lunar New Year, which I will also share once we have all the solid details for that. But I'll be here for not the whole meeting, for most of the meeting. So if you have any questions, I'll be on the side, and you all know how to reach Porfirio Figueroa. So thank you so much. And that was again on behalf of Borough President Mark Levine, and I am on time, y'all. So thank you.
All right. I know the camera somehow just went dark on us. So we're gonna be working on that in the meantime, but Edgar, if you can go ahead with your report.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Happy New Year's to everybody. The senator is back in Senate, back in session. Definitely have been having meetings with labor unions, schools, local schools, public schools. And one of the people that he has met with was the School of the Deaf, alongside Majority Leader Stewart's cousin. They got to speak with students, teachers, and staff. Many are from Manhattan, Uptown Manhattan, and the Bronx, to discuss how continuous support from local electeds has had positive impacts on students, especially those who are hard of hearing. And along with that, the senator has also co-sponsored a Senate Bill S-6050, which is meant to expand jobs in SUNY for the sake of benefiting local workers and maintaining integrity in the education system. Along with that, the senator is also advocating for the restructuring of the Panel of Education Policy, which is PEP, who gets to vote on contracts and a variety of school regulations. This restructuring would ensure that parents have a legitimate say in the policies affecting their children who are in these schools. He's also working diligently alongside with his colleagues in Albany for the final review in order to support the state DOE and to develop soluble school governance structure to have a more accountable and more democratic process in how public schools are ran. Along with that, just to keep things even more local, we have continued our Met Council tenants' rights clinics at 30 Broadway, which happen twice each month. The next date will be February 13th and then February 27th. They take place at 5030 Broadway. On the first floor, you can see them through the window. And we also have a lot of information regarding city and state jobs, jobs from local nonprofits and community boards in our Senate 31 district. And you can also contact us about that. I will leave my information in the chat. Again, and you can call us at 212-444-0173 or email me at etavares@nysenate.gov. And you can also join our newsletter, which contains all of this information. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Edgar. I see the chat is explosive with the links, so we'll be sure to share that again, folks. All right, I don't see hands, so that concludes this portion of our elected officials reports. We're gonna move on to the public session. Reminder, it is 2 minutes. I'm gonna pass it off to Simari to run the public session up here, and then she'll let you know if we're start with people in person, Zoom, and keep it going. Okay,
How's everybody doing? Good, okay. So I'm going to start with calling the virtual public sign up or public session signups. So we'll start with Claudia Copeland, public speaker number 1. Claudia, I think you'll be able to unmute to speak. You'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Claudia Copeland. I work for NYSNA, the New York State Nurses Association. I represent the nurses at New York Presbyterian Allen Hospital, along with Columbia. I am coming here this evening. We have spoken to your Health and Safety Committee and letting them know that NYP has decided to end midwifery services at the Allen Hospital. This is really, to us, we're really worried about patient safety. This impacts 7 providers, 6 midwives, and a nurse practitioner. They are actually both on this Zoom. And I just want to really contextualize that the midwives were told on December 4th that they would not have a job on February 1st. It has since been delayed to March 3rd. In that time, not only have they been told that they are not going to have jobs, but that NYP, if they want to have an NYP job and they go to a lower classification, they would have their pay not maintained, even though in our contract it says that their pay should be maintained. This is affecting 7 midwives, all of whom identify as women, 2 of whom were brought up in Washington Heights and Inwood and were inspired by their childhood in Inwood and Washington Heights to serve their community. And it's really sad. It's deeply upsetting. We have been in this fight to maintain and save the program, to save the service through NYP. Right now, Columbia is what is happening is that they're saying Columbia will take over the service, which would be a non-union job. Right now, our nurses are all NYSNA members. They get their pension, their accruing pension, as well as they have employer-paid health. Under Columbia, they would not be able to have their pension and maintain their employer-paid health. It would really negatively impact them. Also, the kind of care.
Claudia, you're at time. We can give you a few more seconds to wrap up.
I just want to say that this is something that really will impact the community, especially Black and brown birthing folks, and we're deeply concerned. And we are coming to the community to let you know what's happening and to also support our midwives.
Thank you for sharing. We'll take your question. Just let her coworker speak first. Would that be okay? She has a colleague that's also.
Rosalina is not my colleague. Rosalina Lozada is a midwife from the Allen.
Thank you. So she is speaker number 2, Rosalina.
I have a question for the speaker.
Rosalina Lozada, Lozada.
I hear you on the speaker unless you want me to just repeat.
It's a really simple question. What can the community board do to help?
What can the community board do to help? Claudia, is the question.
When we last came to the community board for the Health and Safety Committee, they had said that they wanted to do a letter. Also, people can get in contact with me. I'm going to give you my phone number. My number is 332-234-5197. I would like Rosalina to really have an opportunity to speak. So my phone number again is 332-234-5197. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Multiple things are happening. My number is 332-234-5197.
Thank you, Claudia. If you could just type it in the chat, just so we can have the reference and we can definitely share with the members. So I'll call Rosalina Lozada as speaker number 2, and I will allow you to speak so that you can unmute, Rosalina.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so So Claudia, so let's try to give the gist of the employee aspect of this. I want to give a gist of what's going to how patient care is going to be impacted. So my name is Rosalina Lozada. I'm a certified nurse midwife. I've been raised in Washington Heights and I live here because this is my community. I have worked for Presbyterian for a total of 24 years. I have been a midwife for 25, and 10 of those years have been at the Allen. So Columbia University has not been able to manage itself for the last 10 years, or the last 30 years, actually. They have a problem with the physicians with recruitment and retention. And for whatever reason, we do believe that it's a financial decision. They decided that they want to attempt to replace us with non-union midwives. They're having a significant issue in recruiting these midwives. That aside, after March 3rd, March 4th, we're not going to have a replacement for the patients of this community where over 80% of the birthing women that walk into the Allen are Dominican. They're Black and brown. Many are non-English speaking. They're going to have extended wait times in having a provider see them, because on most days there's only 2 physicians on, and even if there was 3, they're busy doing other deliveries. They're busy in the operating room doing cesarean sections, whether planned or unplanned. They're busy in the emergency room with all the gynecological emergencies that go into the emergency room. Aside from their extended wait times that they're going to have in order for a disposition to be assigned to them, whether they be sent home, whether they stay for however many hours they need to stay, whether they get admitted in labor, there will be unattended births, many unattended births with those 2 or 3 physicians, because when there's 1 or 2 midwives on, we tend to be the ones to help out and to catch those babies that the physicians cannot catch. So this is really going to impact this community adversely, even though Presbyterian says that they care about this community. What they say belies what they do. And everything that they have done in the past 20, 30 years has been against this community. For example, the closure of the psychiatric inpatient unit.
I'm going to pause you there. You exceeded your time, but I welcome you to add any comments into the chat so the team can definitely circle back with you for follow-up and engagement with the community.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think speaker number 3 was Daisy. I don't see her on the line, but I'll call her for what it's worth. Claudia, I'm not sure if she's still on the call.
I'm sorry, she's driving, so I don't know if she'll be able to unmute herself.
Okay, I don't think she's on the list. So if you want to tell her to join back in, I'm going to skip over to the 4th speaker, and then we can circle back if she jumps in on time. Thank you. So moving on to virtual public session speaker number 4, Marilady Pimentel from WEACT. Let me just allow you to speak, Marilady, and you can unmute.
Thank you so much. Yes. Hi, my name is Marilady Pimentel. I am the bilingual community organizer at WEACT. And today we want to mention that we have our next membership meeting is going to be February 10. Let me make sure. Let me give you the information. I'm sorry, February 10th, I'm reading in Spanish, at 10 a.m. at 454 West 155th Street. That's the most worshipful Prince Hall Lounge, where we're going to have Black History Month, Dominican Heritage Month. We're going to have diverse honoring. We're going to honor that day Jocelyn Minaya, and we will have also Beauty Justice Bill. That's going to be February 10 at 10 a.m. at the Prince Hall. Also, we have, Mama, I'm working, I'm sorry. Mommy. Also, we have the Manhattan Clean Energy Hall, where we are where it's part of the Night Sarda, where it's a free help, or it's a free help for workforce development. It's a regional clean energy hub program, connect thousands of ten a nonprofit and small business and affordable homeowners to low and no cost renewable energy. For more information, I put the website in the chat also. And also we have 7 working groups that focus on different environmental justice issues. We have introduced last year, that was the last one, the CB engagement in Spanish, where we're going to have that one on Zoom every second Thursday of the month, yes, at 6:30. And the next one is going to be February 8th at 6:30 on Zoom. And we're going to speak about lead in Spanish and our lead bill that we are advocating. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marilady. We'll definitely have the team circle back and share the information that you've placed in the chat.
Yes, I will send all the information to Paola.
Okay, thank you. So that wraps it up for our virtual public session speakers. I am going to call now the in-person. If you can come up to the podium to speak so that you can speak into the mic, that'll be the best way to hear you on the Zoom. So our first speaker is Jessica Vargas, our Community Healthcare Network, healthcare facility. So you'll have 2 minutes to speak, Jessica. Thank you for walking down.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jessica Vargas. I am the Center Director for Community Healthcare Network, the Washington Heights Health Center. We're located on 511 West 157th Street here in Washington Heights. We are a non-for-profit organization, including primary care for our community. We have services like primary care, like I mentioned, OBGYN, nutrition, behavioral health services, social work services, wellness services, addiction, and dental services, and a lot of other services as well. We take all insurances and do not turn anyone away for inability to pay. We also have an internal pharmacy for our patients with deducted medications as well, if that is needed. We are open Monday through Friday with extended hours on Tuesdays, and we're here to serve our community. So it was nice to be here today. Thank you.
So I'm going to call our second in-person public session speaker. Again, if you can walk over here to the podium or make your way down. I believe it's Jeannie Dubrow from City of Yes. Thank you, Jeannie. And again, we'll allow you 2 minutes to speak. And if anybody has any hands, I didn't see any hands for the other speakers there.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Dubnow. I'm not from the City of Yes. I'm from RENA, Riverside Edgecombe Neighborhood Association. I'm here to ask that the CB12 vote against Mayor Adams' City of Yes proposal. I know that it passed partially the Housing Committee. However, the problem is the City of Yes does not speak at all about affordable housing. It talks affordable housing, but it's not a plan for affordable housing. It's a plan for business. Expansion of businesses into residential areas, into residential apartments. Mayor Adams, who is supported by real estate and who caused the hugest, most enormous rent increases recently in the last several years for rent stabilized apartments, is now pushing this idea of City of Yes. Community Board 9 made serious criticisms. Here's what they said. They worry that the proposal, which expands the overlap of commercial and residential districts, will exacerbate the shortage of residential real estate and affordable housing. They're talking about West Harlem and Manhattanville. The reason is obviously businesses can pay more to landlords than tenants can. So if they can rent second floor, third floor, whatever to businesses, they're going to rent to businesses, not to tenants. So this is going to, already we have lack of affordable housing, already. Already we have many, many market rate apartments, many of which were illegally rent increased. But we ask that you please, please do not support the city of Yes. There was another example. A woman from CB9, Lydia Gerson, she said, I don't see this as anything but giving a big yes to big bucks, big real estate in the city, which have made life intolerable here for many of us in the last 25 years. That's what Gerson said. So I'm asking and pleading with CB12 to do the right thing and vote against Mayor Adams' real estate city of Yes. Thank you. Was that 2 minutes?
Perfect.
Is all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Be careful walking out. Okay, so we're moving on to our next public session speaker, Ryan Dessel. So we'll allow you 2 minutes to speak, Ryan. And he's speaking on mapping design.
Hello, District 12 and city members. My name is Ryan Dessel. I'm a local artist. I'm presenting this design tonight to show NYC mapping of the city. This is not to replace city council. So what this is to break down our city for the foundation of some type of restart and information. So all the districts would be involved in this, from park and recs to education to traffic and transportation and land use. The goal is to break down the city into 3 districts. So what we would do, it's a very complex design, and I'm going to send it to Ms. Diaz so she can break it down. But it's to break the city down into 3 districts. You'd have uptown, midtown, and downtown. From Inwood all the way down to Central Park West would be uptown. And then from Central Park all the way down, you would have to 23rd Street, you'd have midtown. And this would be the midtown section. And from there, you would then have downtown going all the way down to the whole point from here is to be able to crunch and get the data of all the logistics of the buildings, and then eventually to get the population of the city. The goal from here is to be able to be accountable for our city, but then also to be able to distribute the, the resources that we have. The thing is to get 3 in a way of like a triangle for the foundation to be able to get constructive competition in between the city. So for example, uptown will be working together, midtown will be working together, and downtown will be together. This is an open design as well. So everybody is able to then add to it. The whole thing is to get as much logistics and data as we can into these districts. From here, we can then, so like I said, land use, every single chair, this is your design, this is our design. So from this, I would present a resolution that we would then present this to Eric Adams as our district, District 12. We came together and made a foundation for something of a presented programming and design for the NYC mapping. So my goal is to present this to our district tonight. Maybe Mrs. Diaz can then email this to people, and then everyone can collaborate and think of ideas of how we can get the logistics all the way from the schools to the train lines to even eventually to get to the population and the citizens. So this is just the entry point, and I know that I'm running out of time. Like I said, it's a complex design, but I really appreciate you guys checking out because I know that we're within this district, and I know that this is going to be something that District 12 that we can present to downtown and to Eric Adams that will give our district content. So I thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. So we'll call our final public session speaker here for in person, Natalie Asemi. She's presenting on visual arts.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Natalie Asemi, and I am a student here at Columbia in the School of Public Health in the General Public Health Accelerated Degree Program. So I've been living here. I'm originally from the West Coast, but I hope to make the East Coast my home. And I've really found a community here in Washington Heights. And something I really wanted to do was go ahead and make a short film because I feel like Washington Heights is unseen, and I want to, really like bring Washington Heights to the forefront. And I want to go ahead and demonstrate the vibrance and the beauty of our community. And the style I wanted to take with this short film was similar to what Anthony Bourdain used to do in his series, if anyone is an Anthony Bourdain fan. So the way I wanted to do it was I wanted to have a little bit of a historical overview. I then wanted to explore all the different cultures and traditions, all the different, communities that we have residing here. And then I wanted to talk a lot about focusing on the food and cuisine, highlighting a lot of current issues and perspectives. And the way I can make that possible is through connecting with all of you in here. And if any of you guys know other community champions that I could get in touch with, that would be amazing. So far, with this idea, I've been reaching out to some of the professors here, but I wanted to come here tonight to find more contacts because in order to make this possible, I want to make sure everyone here is represented. So I can make sure that this can convey everything to the best of my ability. And before it goes out, showing it to you guys and really having you guys a part of this process. Other things I wanted to incorporate is personal stories, interviews, modern life today. And I wanted to just, again, create a short film to teach people, in New York City more about this community, especially, a lot of the students at the School of Public Health come from a lot of different places, whether it's New York, different parts of the country or the world. And I hope that this is a film that can be shown to students to educate them so they can support the community, support local businesses. And so I can leave my email. I will be sitting here in the corner, so please come and talk to me. I would love to have everyone a part of this, and it won't happen unless, we all work together. So thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Stay close by. I have 2 questions for you. Liz first.
Are you aware that there is an organization called Inwood Arts Works? They have an annual film festival, and they also give grants to filmmakers who are making films in or about Washington Heights and Inwood, or who are from or in Washington Heights or Inwood.
I was not aware of that, but I will go ahead and check that out. Is it conditional when the grants are released? Or is there like an application process, or is it something that's held throughout the year?
I think they have multiple funding cycles. I'm not sure. Let's talk.
We'll talk after. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
One more question from Daryl.
Yes.
Does this include Edward?
Yes. Yes.
That does include Inwood. And last question, Barbara.
I just wanted to say that you wanted to learn more about the diverse people here. Arlene Schulman, a few years ago, did a whole anthology of biographies of long-term residents of Washington Heights and Inwood. So you should look her up, Arlene Schulman, Schulman. And I believe that those are anthologized at the New York Public Library.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I can go ahead and, okay, should I go ahead?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
drop it from.
Thank you, everyone.
So that wraps up our public session. Thank you, everybody. I'll pass it back to the chair.
My agenda's missing. All right. All right, thank you, everybody, and for the patience. All right, we're gonna do some quick administrative things because we have reached quorum a while ago. So I want to officially call the meeting to order at 7:49 p.m. And I had also, we need to move to adopt tonight's agenda with the one edit around our secretary election. Is there a motion on the floor to adopt tonight's agenda? Domingo, Liz first, Domingo seconded. Is there anyone in opposition? I don't hear anyone, and anyone in abstention? Okay, so the motion passes. And, that was it. Cool. All right, so as I mentioned, secretary nominations. We have both our secretary and assistant secretary positions open. Secretary really is the primary one. I believe based on our bylaws, we don't necessarily have to move for assistant secretary as well. So is there anybody who would like to nominate themselves to be secretary or nominate somebody else? Anthony, your hand's up. What would you? Okay, we have a name. Anthony Viola, for folks on Zoom, has nominated himself. Is there anyone else who would like to nominate themselves or nominate another person? All right, no, hearing none. All right, so this is what we're, oh, Eliezer, go put your hand up.
Can I nominate Jacob Banes?
¿Cómo fue?
Jacob.
Jacob says no. But thank you. All right, so what we're gonna do, because we gotta vote, is for folks in the room, we have some pieces of paper. This is very nimble of us, but we'll have pieces of paper, and right now it'll have Anthony's name. Remember, based on voting right, you can vote for that person or for Anthony or no one at all. And then Michelle and Daryl will tally it for folks on Zoom. I'm gonna send you a Google form. And then what we'll do is we'll keep moving, and at the end of the resolutions, we'll come back and talk about the outcome of tonight's vote. Does that, yeah, Luana? Votes are not anonymous. We have to write our names. Yes, thank you. Luana's had asked if or clarified that the votes are not anonymous, so you have to write your name on it. Is Barbara, do you have a question?
I applaud Anthony for doing this. Wonderful. But I'm not sure. You have to be on the board for a year. Has Anthony been on the board for a year?
Yes, Anthony joined January 2023.
Okay, fantastic. We're in. Okay.
All right. So folks in the room, just give me a sec because I gotta send this.
You use your own piece of paper, who's gonna leave one out?
So folks, remember, you're gonna write your name and your votes. Sorry, I gotta share my full screen because the second one's missing. And for folks on Zoom, I'm gonna be sending you a Google form right now. Okay, so folks who are on Zoom, you should have gotten a Google form from my email. Let me just triple check. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just waiting for some commotion, as y'all see on the screen. Thank you, Daryl, for moving around.
Spelling of the name.
Oh, in terms of thank you.
The names, Anthony's name.
Good point.
What's Anthony's last name?
What happened, Eliezer?
What's Anthony's last name?
Viola. I'm gonna write it in the chat for folks. Yes, just like the intro. Viola, so Viola. Viola. Does everybody have a piece of paper? Hold on. I can't hear everybody. I heard a question. Does everybody have a piece of paper? All right, Luana, it's gonna be your turn. Yeah, so well, remember, I know folks, there's a little commotion. We're gonna keep going because we do have a lot of big results tonight. So I'm gonna have Luana, our Chair for Parks and Cultural Affairs, come present our resolution related to the Jamel Mansion. She got 5 minutes. Quietly, please bring, I feel like I'm in the classroom again, literally. Quietly, please come on down and leave your slips on the front table or just pass them down, to our buddies and we'll collect them.
So it's just for the resolution.
Your resolution, and then talk about your meeting, like,
Okay.
yeah, or whatever's coming next month, but this is only.
Paola has it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta, hold on, I gotta
Should I
share.
just start? Like, can I talk over you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So while Kathy is setting up, I just want to clarify that the resolution that is printed is an outdated one. And we will be, that was my fault. I emailed the wrong one to Paola. So we do have the updated one on the screen that we will be pulling up. So while that happens, in order, in the essence of saving time, community members came to the parks, the PC, I call it the PCA, Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee, to present some concerns with regards to the preservation and maintenance of the Jamel Mansion. And this stemmed from the article that was printed in the New York Times. We had a very productive meeting that was in October, and we were ready to pass a resolution, but because we did not have quorum, that resolution was rolled over to the December meeting. I'm sorry, it was the November meeting, and it was here. So this is the updated one. We do welcome suggestions, but we do want to keep to the facts. The fact that the Jamel Mansion was landmarked, the date, the cultural and historical reference. Please also excuse my language in the way that we drafted this resolution. This comes from way back when I was a student senator at SUNY New Paltz, but I will not say the year. So this is how I remember about resolutions. However, I understand that there is feedback, suggestions that I would rather discuss openly, and then you can forward those to me, to my email, board members. So that is the latest one. Based on the asks of the community. I see you, Liz. The asks of the community, the expectations of the community. And also we wanted to write this resolution in good faith to demonstrate that the CB12 wants to work in partnership with the Jamel Mansion. So that's sort of like the context of the resolution, the asks of the community at large, what we came up as a committee, how we worded it as a committee. There was a lot of back and forth because, as you understand or might understand, when we talk about community and historical relevance, that can be extremely subjective. And we also had those discussions, and I can refer you to the recorded meeting so that you can see what those discussions entailed. So we wanted to use neutral language and just take a minute to read it. And then I'm open, or the committee is open to discussions, suggestions, but I will ask that in order to save time, send those to me via email. Liz. You gotta repeat what she says.
You did a great job taking a heated community issue and boiling it down into a neutral resolution that really speaks to the issue very clearly. I have always happy to support. I have a bunch of small technical things, the largest of which is rather than having be it resolved, be it further resolved, be it finally resolved, is to have one be it resolved with 3 bullet points. But more to the point, we as a board can't ask, we can't resolve that somebody do something. We can't
Right.
resolve that we ask them. So
Yes.
that be resolved, the community board resolved, and respectfully requests that the Morris Jamel Mansion, and then take all the language that's in there and have 3 bullet points.
Right. That was, thank you for that, Liz. That was up for discussion because we had, first of all, we were feeling very nervous because the attendance, it was one of the most attended meetings in our PCA. And it was very productive. It was very fruitful. It was very respectful. So we were ready. I mean, we were expecting that it would be contentious and it wasn't. It was very amicable. And the tone was that we do want to work in partnership with the mansion, with the executive board and the trustees. Catherine Hughes was present at that meeting and answered all of the questions. But also, we understood that we cannot mandate from an entity the amount of times that they should be providing a report, for example. So this is why the language is ongoing, periodic, so that the community at large is also satisfied with what those asks are.
And that's a magic word.
Yeah.
At the end, they provide. We can't do that. We have to say, be it resolved that we request that they provide.
Ongoing, okay.
Okay, so the ask.
So we can say that we asked, be it resolved.
You want me to write it?
Yeah, that respectfully asks for ongoing updates. Okay. Oh, by the way, this passed unanimously at the committee level. You should know that. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Nabi? No, Debbie, sorry, Nabi. Debbie, no, Vivian. Sorry, Debbie.
In my substance, in this set, but I will say that for those of us who aren't on the committee and aren't like up to speed on issues, we can be part of the article times, etc., and follow what the issue is. This doesn't tell me like something like this, like this doesn't really tell me what the nature of the concern was. So I appreciate that we're trying to like keep me told about both sides, but like so when we say there was this article in the Times,
right?
Put a few lines of what that is, because and then if we're getting to a resolve, and I feel like I'm not following. It's just like a little more meat around like
The commissioners.
Why we're stepping in the way we are asking for this resolve.
Right.
I don't. For those who
yeah. So I'm going to respectfully state that the reason why we listed the article is because we're going to trust that people are going to go and read the article. I feel that if we tease out or cherry pick what the article is saying, that might be open for criticism of us, like being selective in what information we're sharing.
I don't even know exactly why we're doing that.
So, hold on, you gotta repeat what she's asking because nobody hears. Oh. So what her ask is, and if you accept or you like, do you want to add extra detail or not?
I'm going to go this way now. So for the people online, I'm sorry, and I'm going to have to paraphrase and abbreviate what you're saying. So what Debbie is saying is that the resolution doesn't provide clarity in terms of what the regarding the issues that are being addressed that were underscored in the article in the New York Times dated October 29, 2023. Is that a fair characterization of what you're saying?
What the conditions are. She doesn't know the conditions.
I'm going to let Wayne, Wayne.
Two separate thoughts. The article in the Scott.
Do you want to come into the
Yeah.
microphone? Because for the people online, because,
if you're not,
I'm not comfortable
Yeah,
speaking for others. I can paraphrase and I can preface the conversation, but I would rather people hear your own words.
Yeah. No, I was just for Debbie. I mean, the article and some of the responses that were published by the New York Times, they were all sent to the community board. So the thing that might be helpful for everyone is if the community board office would just send that to the full board, but that's not what I wanted to say. So-
Thank you for that, though.
Okay, so on the resolution, I sent you the edits
Yes.
so that we could save time. Just a few points, like before it was a New York City landmark, it was actually declared a historic landmark in 1961, so we should add that.
I added that.
I don't,
Well, I think you have an old version, and this is what, hold
Yeah.
on, yeah.
so, but there are three designations, the 1961.
Oh, I didn't do that,
Right.
1961. I only have 1967 and 1975.
Right, so that's
Okay,
the
great.
city designation. In 1961, it was declared a national landmark.
Okay,
Something that people don't know often miss is the building is owned by the city of New York under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department.
mhm,
The Historic House Trust, which is a nonprofit that works with parks to maintain city-owned buildings in the parks,
mhm.
has a license agreement, and then the Morse Mill Mansion Inc. was a nonprofit that operates the programs within it. So I think the resolution should at least cite those three, because
Mhm.
for a capital project, it has to go through parks,
Got
which
it.
what a lot of people is missing. And then I think the other critical thing is we should ask the borough president and Carmen De La Rosa to ensure that the exterior restoration project is fully funded and that the commencement of the restoration work is expedited, because that is not something that the nonprofit that runs the programs is in charge of. We work, and just for clarity, I think I've mentioned this in a number of occasions, I'm actually on the board of Morris Janelle Services Vice President, but we are not in charge of the exterior restoration project. We have championed it. We've helped to raise, I think, $8.4 million. But that is all managed by the Parks Department. So I think it's great that CB12 is saying, let's support it, but we also need to let Parks know, and the borough president who's provided money, and Carmen, who's been really helpful in providing money, let them know they need to support it.
Thank you.
Jim, can you come? Jim, do you mind coming up? Thank you.
Okay.
Hi. I just want to basically second what all the previous speakers said, to reiterate, these are very significant points, and you admitted that you're a novice, and, welcome to the club, and you're learning, and that's how it is. As Liz pointed out, we can only request, so that's the first thing. And the other thing, which came out from Debbie, although I don't think she used the word, is the resolution should have some background about the mansion, for example, so people know what it's all about.
What kind of background?
A little history, a little, what they do, that kind of thing.
Like it's a museum.
Like, right, just because, otherwise people don't know what it is. And we're trying to educate the community also. And finally, and this is so technical, it's ridiculous, at some point you actually have to spell out the name of the organization. You can't keep on using the abbreviation.
I didn't spell it in the beginning. I thought I did. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you accept all those edits?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have hands on some.
Any hands online?
No.
Oh. Any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I have a comment. It's not, and I don't think it's so focused on this resol, but what I will say is, and it's not just a shameless plug, the Uptown tours have been really helpful in trying to understand things, because I personally had never been to the Jamel Mansion. And when we went, I finally understood for what years folks have said about the mansion, right? Like the important, the leaks that they're experiencing and a lot of these issues. So I definitely encourage our members that anytime there's an Uptown tour scheduled for a place you may or may not know, like come through, or if you want to go on your own, we can always figure that out, because it really did help at least me contextualize the years of requests from the mansion, and definitely gave a lot more background. So
Right.
Indiana.
I'm gonna try to speak out. So are we voting on this tonight, without seeing the edits?
The what?
The edits that were just suggested.
I think in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can pass a resolution so long as we agree with the amendments that are being made tonight, which will be included, what Wayne said, what Liz said, if, they've already sent me the edits, but I just wanted to open the forum so that we are clear that edits will be made, but I mean, people can abstain or accept the resolution with the amendments discussed tonight. Parliamentarian?
Yeah.
Essentially, you're gonna put all the requests into the register, so we know at this point what the resolution is.
Yeah, so if the clarifications of like what was edited or spoken about are clear to you and you're good to vote, then that's what we're voting on and what will be on paper. If you do need like somebody to repeat that for this one or any of the other ones, always just raise your hand before we vote and we'll clarify that. And then Liz.
To be clear though, there isn't anything in what's been suggested that's materially altering the meaning of it. All of these suggestions are really very much to form.
Yeah, okay.
So it's basically
Diana.
adding, I'm sorry, it's basically to clarify, adding something having to do with programs, what the mansion offers, the additional landmarking, the wording that we cannot demand, but we urge, encourage the ask of the what's being resolved, the request, those three things, basically. Yeah, go ahead, back to you.
One other question. Programming physical
The conditions and renovations.
Right. What the community is asking is for transparency, updates, and outreach. So if you were to look at every single bullet within, be it resolved, one has to do with outreach, the other has to do with updates, and the other one has to do with collaborating with the community, which were the three asks of the community at large when we held our PCA meeting. Does that make sense? Okay.
That's one of the projects.
That's already phase two. Like all of that accessibility, that is included. And that's why all of this has to do with a capital project that, to my understanding, when it was published in, and I won't take any more time, in the New York Times, it has to do with a lapse in time between money allocation and actual execution of the capital project, which includes the restoration, but also in our rankings, accessibility, that's also in it. So it has to do with the updates regarding those capital projects. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. All right.
And
thank you, Wayne.
Is it new?
You should have explained that the concern was lack of time between this and this, and for that reason, or our concern was that over time there had been a lack of transparency about the status of these very important, updates of the capital project, and therefore that's why our result. Like we have to create the link. Like with me, it's one thing that friendly amendments, it's another thing that it is like passing a certain point that like we compete. So I would just say, if we're trying to do it all too many, like, it's not just a little of this, a little of that, but there has to be a link between what we're concerned about that will resolve it. It doesn't say that, but, and I've heard things, but that's not really what's here.
But that's why the article was referenced. Yeah.
Article, like that, like if you reference, if you say that article which addressed the lack of time between this and this.
You want to add like that sentence to that one?
Don't say go with article, like it all has to be. Is that another one?
Liz? Okay.
Is that taking a position on whether the article was good or fair or
Exactly.
The crux of the article was that it was questioning how money was being spent. You could say, funding and expenditures. It's possible to, in very few words, identify what the article spoke to without taking a position.
Without spinning it, yeah, or yeah. And
So-
the reason why, Debbie, I have to say that we have to refer back to the article. It's because it was the article that prompted people to march into the meeting to demand answers. That is what prompted everything and this resolution. That resolution was a request from the public at large. They came in, 20 of them, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Hold on, just real quick, because I have a point of order, actually.
Yeah.
We're surpassed time on this
Sorry.
item. At this point, it's not a material change, it's just to ask for extra detail. So that's an amendment that you either take or you don't take, and it sounds like
Right.
they're not taking it. So we're gonna leave it as it is.
Yeah, so then it's tricky because then to decide what part of the article is going to be cited, that can get us into cherry picking
Well-
information, and I don't want to do that.
Okay, so what I'll allow for, so we can go because we have other
Sorry.
big resos, is if you find a middle ground and you want to add that before we vote on
Yes.
it, do that. But right now, we know that it's not a material change. It's just about the detail.
Got it.
Okay. Because we got to go on to our next one, which is Wayne with land use and the city of Yes for economic opportunity. No. Let me stop my share. Put like 8 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Heidi for taking the minutes for the Land Use Committee meeting, and I also want to thank all of the members who went through and edited them so that we got out a clear set of, rather detailed minutes. The resolution that is before us tonight concerns the City of Yes for economic opportunity, and the agenda should actually read a resolution in conditional support, not just in support. For some background, this is the second of 3 City of Yes citywide zoning text amendments that is being proposed by the Department of City Planning. The first one we dealt with last year, and that was the City of Yes for carbon neutrality. This is a business-focused zoning text amendment, and this spring, the City of Yes for housing opportunity will be released. Although there was an informational session, I believe, on the City of Yes for housing opportunity in September, that zoning text amendment is not yet released, and that is not what we're talking about. So the intention of the City of Yes for economic opportunity is really to update the 1961 zoning to remove some outdated zoning limitations on businesses and to, support business growth, and allow a wider range of businesses to locate in existing commercial and residential areas. There are 4 overall goals, and under those 4 overall goals, there are 18 specific proposals. The 4 goals are to make it easier to find space, to support growing businesses, to foster vibrant neighborhoods, and to have new opportunities for businesses. City Planning presented this to us. I shared the presentation with the entire board because this is a much more involved zoning text amendment than the carbon neutrality. They also answered questions at 2 subsequent land use committee meetings, and there were memos circulated that were Q&A of the Uptown Community Boards 9, 10, 11, and 12, which the Land Use Committee got copies of. I also recently shared that with the full board so that you would have access to that. Of the 18 proposals, there are 4 that the committee had some concerns with, and those are proposals 5, 9, 10, and 11. Proposal 5 is the one that deals with allowing, different types of commercial uses on the upper floors of residential buildings. That is already allowed. It would liberalize that. The concern that we had, and also is a concern that Community Board 9 and others had, is that it might displace residential units. Proposal 9 would remove zoning restrictions in C1 and C2 commercial areas. Washington Heights and Inwood is primarily residential, but we have a lot of overlays that are C1 and C2, so this would impact us, and it would make it, easier for different types of businesses to locate, which is fine, but there are some concerns about noise and nuisances and how they are to be handled. Proposal 10 would modernize how zoning considers amusements and arcades and allow as of right facilities up to 10,000 square feet in any residential area. And we had no issue with updating, how you define arcades and things of that nature, but neighborhoods are not uniform, and allowing 10,000 square feet as of right in any neighborhood we thought was too big. And there should be a mechanism to determine the appropriate size. And then finally, proposal 11 is the one that would, modernize the rules for home businesses. Once again, zoning already allows home businesses. This would take away naming the kind of businesses that are allowed and instead focus on the impacts those businesses can and cannot have on the residential building. Our concern with that is by increasing the square footage in the apartment that can be used for a business, and by increasing the number of non-resident employees who can work out of there, you would have more foot traffic and potentially create more, adverse impacts for the residents. So, in general, we support the goals and objectives of the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity, but it's conditioned on the 5 things listed, and that is only allowing second floor residential buildings if it is new construction or it's a gut renovation, and there can be no reduction or displacement of existing residential units. When it comes to modernizing C1 and C2 zoning and what can be allowed there, there should be a review of the noise complaints that occur in the area and establish a procedure to monitor those allowable levels of noise and to address them. In terms of, amusement venues, arcades, call them what you will, there should once again be a mechanism to determine the level of noise and to size them appropriate for their neighborhoods. And in terms of, the establishment of a mechanism for home businesses are not allowed to post any kind of signage that is not permitted by zoning by the building department, but there needs to be a mechanism whereby those businesses are registered annually and they're required to address any nuisance complaints that are generated by their business. And 5th, nothing in the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity should reduce the role of community boards in the land use review process.
I understand, you said that there's a third, that there were multiple meetings and there's another piece that relates to housing?
There's another zoning text amendment that is unrelated to this.
So this piece,
Is just economic opportunity.
so to the extent that we have feedback about the general City of Yes concept and proposal as it relates to housing, that's
Later this year.
later this year, and it's going to be something that comes through, I don't know, jointly through your committee and housing?
Well, it's another zoning text amendment, so,
Okay.
but even for the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity, land use thought this is something that licensing and business development would be very interested in, and the chairs of each were invited to participate in the land use, and they were provided with the information, and they were also provided that. So the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity is clearly something where Housing and Human Services should definitely, be in the loop.
So I have other feedback, but I'm gonna get back in the queue.
Yeah, Domingo.
Yeah, my only concern is back with this, like how can you start a business? And yet in a city where we're facing so much housing insecurity and housing stock is constantly being impacted, we start with a business proposition as opposed to addressing what's going on in housing and then seeing how the business aspect could be evolved out of that.
Yeah. They actually didn't begin with business. They began with carbon neutrality. So the economic opportunity is the second. And I think the reason they are, and I cannot speak for city planning. I don't see anyone here. I think the reason why the housing opportunity is last, even though they had an informational session about the same time that for economic opportunity is, it's going to be even more involved than the economic opportunity zoning text amendment.
So they did the easier one first,
Yeah.
the harder one in the middle.
And then the hardest one last.
You have Barbara and then who else? No, but
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you very much to the Management Committee on your leadership plans. Like, no matter the hardest subjects like this one, y'all always do a really professional job making sure we're prepared for this conversation. And also being able to really like give a really objective view, honestly, like of what's going on. But I really want to separate the committee from the city of Yes. First and foremost, you guys are fantastic. I understand how the vote went that way too. That's honestly where I guess my point of my question is, and a little bit of a point as well, where it's like the vision is made. I do like the vision. The way the application goes out to the mayor's point is a bit challenging, but I understand the process is what it is. For me, it's more of a visceral feeling of trust. Do we trust when we're in budget cuts from the mayor's office? Do we trust when we're, denigrating immigrants from the mayor's office that the vision of this type of utopia for business first is actually going to happen? Like, do we really trust that? First of all, that's the point. My question is, who's going to pay for all this?
Who's going to pay
Does
for
that
what?
come up when this actually goes through, right?
Who's going to pay for what?
For the parts of the city of Yes, that we need to either enforce, live by, educate, and I understand people, I do. And it is admirable, absolutely. Do I trust that? Yeah, because there's a conversation of, there's the assistance of how folks can adapt to this, even the carbon neutrality piece of it. Where's the funding? Like, where is?
So we're not talking about carbon neutrality tonight, because we talked about the carbon neutrality reso, I think last summer. Right. One of the things that we in fact did discuss is the Department of City Planning is responsible for, enacting, revising, reviewing zoning. It is not responsible for enforcing it. The building department is responsible for enforcing zoning. So that you will notice the last resolve is where we urged Mayor Adams and the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget to increase the resources to the building department to ensure that as the city agency responsible for enforcing the zoning resolution, it has the resources and capability to enforce all current and revised aspects of zoning resolution.
And what did they say?
We have not submitted anything to it.
Sorry, Wayne. So then you have to vote for the city to submit it, or do you?
But I'm simply pointing out, and we're probably going to get hit by Jim Berlin for going back and forth. But the way any resolution works is it is not the opinion of the board until the board has voted on it. So land use, although we adopted this, we cannot submit this to city planning or to the mayor's office and say, what do you think about it? So but we did recognize that if we are concerned about enforcement, that is focused on the building department because it's the city agency that has to do that. And it was a specific point made by one of our members that in the resolution, we should make it clear that we want that agency to have the resources they require in order to enforce.
I'm still announcing the community board, only in my 7 years, but I would ask, how do I ask for something of an omnibus package like this to be more like broken up in a way, and not necessarily say that it's a slow roll, of course not, you definitely educate us all the way up here, but there are certain parts of this, like what you just mentioned, and the division zones to put in there, that really need the answer until I feel comfortable giving my support.
Yeah, I understand that the community board does not control how the community board does not control how the Department of City Planning decides to implement
I gotta make a little point of
zoning
order.
resolutions, and they've broken this in three.
Hold on, point of order.
Stop. Yeah. Stop. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, we got Jim, Barbara, who's also been waiting, and then Danny, and then Jumina in the back. We're actually beyond time.
Right.
Okay, and Daryl. I'm gonna.
Yeah, but just for clarity.
Hold on, just for timing in terms of order. We've been gone, right? All right, minute. I'm gonna put 5 more minutes. It's 2 across also, and it's important for the chat, and y'all probably see it. DCP is on, and tomorrow, beginning at 9 a.m., comments for the proposal will be accepted until February 15th. So the meeting info is there, and the link to comment is also online on the city website.
And all
Let me
of
see.
the information that was shared with land use was
It's on the
shared with
website.
each and every, no, it was not on the website. It was emailed
Mm-hmm.
to each and every board member. So you have what we have. And in terms of the 3 City of Yes proposals, which we've discussed on a number of occasions, we knew that there were 3 of them coming, and we knew that this is the second, and we knew that housing is the third.
Okay.
Danny,
Hold on, Jim, hold on.
who's next?
Okay, Jim is next. Let's get him on the mic, and then Barbara, sorry, just because of time.
I see this entirely differently. This is zoning. Zoning doesn't cost anything. All it does is say, when you build something, these are the new rules you must follow. Now, all these buildings that will go up, most of them presumably, the funding will come from private developers. So I think, I'm trying to, assuage your concern, because we're just, all of these changes do is say, heretofore.
It changes the law.
But the point is that it doesn't cost anything. We're just saying how things must be from now on, and the presumption is these new versions of things are better. And just to give you one quick example, and I'll stop. Rather than specifying what kind of things you can have where, what we're saying is you may not give off carbon monoxide, you may not give off gamma rays and stuff like that. It just changes the focus. So I hope that was helpful.
Barbara, that's you first.
Thank you, Wayne, for the emails. I read them all. So thank you for that. I have a concern. It's not just housing, it's also fire and industrial use of apartments. A very specific example. Several years ago in Confucius Plaza, which is a Mitchell Lama building, people got an apartment and they moved in industrial garment machines, sewing machines, and they turned their apartment into a 18-hour-a-day garment factory. Now, the electricity for the building is included in your rent. You don't pay extra for utilities. So that was running up the building's electricity bill significantly, and also posed really a fire hazard because the wiring for the building is not really geared toward industrial equipment. So I didn't feel that what you sent me, that those uses for an apartment business could be prevented. So, under this City of Yes, that somebody could do something, like that.
Someone can do something. The question is from whether what they're doing is legal or not. What was done in Confucius Plaza was not legal under zoning then. It would not be legal under zoning now. If you read the document in terms of home businesses, it's talking about things like, barbers and interior design and things of that nature. Industrial is not permitted at all. And what the new law would say is the kind of impacts you can and cannot have. And it's also the percentage of the apartment. The apartment still has to be primarily residential. So we have to separate what people do versus what is legal. And the example of what was done in Confucius Park, and there are others where people are using their apartments basically to recharge batteries, which cause all these fires. None of that is actually legal. It is done, but it is not legal.
Okay, we're gonna go to Daryl, Jumina J, I see you. If it is a brand new thing, I'll allow it, but we really gotta move forward because we got more residents.
Yeah. Good question. I know it's been dealing mostly with buildings, but does this do anything to address residential parking or commercial?
No.
So the question, can you read the question?
The question is whether this deals with residential parking or loading?
Yeah. And you're talking about rezoning.
Commercial.
Well, we're not talking about rezoning, we're talking about amending the existing zoning. If there's anything that's going to deal with residential parking, I'm sure it's going to be in the next one, which is the City of Yes for housing opportunity. This is not dealing with housing.
So with the new businesses that are going inside of these buildings.
But it doesn't deal with residential parking. It doesn't, there's a section in existing commercial buildings where zoning right now has some strange rules about loading. And even if you don't need more loading docks, it requires you to do that. That is addressed, but that's not in residential. That's in existing commercial buildings.
Okay, that answers the question. Jumina.
If there are so many challenges with water, like, one of the things that I think is especially like, I'm not really seeing long-term benefits of these.
And that's one of the reasons why, as I mentioned, of the 18 proposals, there are 4 that the committee has issues with and say they need to be revised in order for us for not to be conditionally supporting, and one of which is clearly nightlife. We spell that out in the resolution, and in the minutes, there's a lot of discussion on noise, and one of the things that we pointed out is, although there is a city process now, it's called CURE, where there's a multi-agency, response. From our very first meeting, we said that there needed to be more outreach to residents and community-based organizations to hear, for city planning to hear from them what the problems are, as opposed to relying on, the mayor's office, other city agencies to have the solution without getting that. But if you read the 4 proposals that we questioned, the one dealing with nightlife is in fact one of them.
Okay, and then Jay.
Jay.
I just have 3 quick questions. When we're talking about the BSA, it's part of like the initials you have in the presentation that you also sent over. That's the Board of Standards and Appeals.
Yes, but the BSA is not part of this. This is part of city planning.
Yeah, but part of the zoning stuff of their proposals say things like businesses under C1 through C7 could apply to allow outdoor activities through a BSA special permit process. So now that that's clarified that that's what BSA is for, I have a big issue with the BSA because any even when we're talking about residential, is the same thing with the BSA. You can apply as many times as you want, even if there's community opposition. You can continue applying. You don't have to tell the community to get a waiver for any other issue, even the issue of noise. When you're talking about noise, and this is like the C1 through C7, they're talking about amusement and recreation facilities, right? Like being able to do stuff outside. I'm just going to point that out as an issue that people should really think about. The other quick question was, does the city planning have an actual like FAQ sheet for everyone to actually see like frequently asked questions, answers, some of these issues that basically you sort of thought of, right, about noise, if businesses are on a certain level. One of the issues I'm thinking about is, I'm thinking about like the hospital, right? They keep expanding, they keep buying property. At what point will they take over a large portion of Washington Heights if they keep expanding?
By the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just a couple things. The Board of Standards and Appeals, I think dates back to 1916 when zoning was first created for New York City. And it exists because absent that, there were legal challenges to the city of New York having zoning law, and that's a completely different conversation. The City of Yes for Economic Opportunity has nothing to do, it has no impact on whether it's Columbia or any institution, buying properties. As Jim Berlin pointed out, it's taking existing zoning, which are basically laws, and updating them to say what is allowed per those laws.
Okay, so that's
That's-
time, yeah.
Could I ask you?
How dare.
A suggestion and, ask for friendly amendment. The suggestion is there's actually a thing on input. Is it possible for any board members, to come together and set up community boards and suggestions to add during the public session to speak on, not solely, the committee, but, on the of the board?
Wait, what do you mean?
Is that possible? So there's a public comment period where, could comments be added, not only just to the resolution, but, from the board perspective, during that period. February 15th.
I think for the formal community board response needs to be passed, I guess, at
It already
this
passed,
meeting.
technically.
Well, I think they extended the deadline
Yeah.
to the 31st. It
Mhm.
used to be January 8th, but it was ended February. But at a public hearing, any member of the public, community board members, can provide their input.
You can't speak on behalf of
But
the
but
board.
it just, you don't have to be speaking on behalf of the community board. It can still be a valid
Now, my
point.
amendment, is there ways to limit, like, let's say, for instance, the square footage of businesses beyond the first floor? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they're saying X amount, of square footage could be done for this. Is there a possibility of being able to limit any of that, like, put a square footage attached to it or no?
Well, I mean, in our suggestion or in the resolution, we're saying it should not be allowed at all in existing buildings, and it can only be allowed in new construction or in a gut rehab where there is no displacement of residential units.
But even in a city where affordable housing seems not to be so affordable, how are you gonna give up affordable housing spaces?
But you're not. I mean, if
In
it,
new construction, technically you are, because with these.
you're not, but in new construction, and once again, I'm going back and forth, and we're saying in new construction, the residential, whatever would be there, cannot be displaced or reduced. So if you're putting in second floor commercial, it's in addition to the residential. There's no, we're quite clear, it says no reduction or displacement.
Of housing. Okay, so we gotta wrap up because we got way more rezos tonight, and I wanna just say this, and I'm gonna say it, and we're gonna keep it pushing. I'm incredibly grateful to Wayne and, to be real, the patience for carrying this for 3 months, 4 months. It's been 4 months. What I will say is the next big City of Yes package is housing. We here could be here for a week talking about it, and meaning that we all as board members need to do our due diligence and be responsible, right? So this has been 3 months in conversations, presentations, one-sheeters, FAQs. Folks, we got to do our homework. So we got to show up. If we can't show up to that meeting, we better watch the Zoom, because when we comes a time besides the public session for that package, there's no way that we can be here debating that for over an hour. I need folks to show up. I need folks to support the committee. The committee's been on this for 4 months. We've been sending one-on-one emails. So please, it's a huge thing that's really impossible to get through because it's 18 of them at Borough Board. I think they spent 5 hours talking about it. So, I'm asking folks, let's step it up when it comes to the next portion of City of Yes, because we really gonna need to do that. All right, we're gonna move forward to our next reso, which is Domingo for Youth and Education. And that's reso letter C. You got 5 minutes.
A lot of resolutions, right, Debbie? That means people are working.
because committees speak through resolutions, remember that. So my resolution is basically around, and I want to thank the committee members. I want to thank La Señorita Carmen for taking down the minutes. It's basically around class size and enforcing class sizes, but also being able to dive into when we talk about equitable distribution of students within schools, right? We're not just talking about this lopsidedness of, yeah, let's minimize classrooms, but it's also getting looking also into the future as what does that mean when you're making classrooms smaller and you have to equitably distribute students amongst different schools to be able to meet this law actually. I wanna start off with Wayne's comments because Wayne did provide some comments. I have been compiling it, Wayne. So yes, I do accept your friendly amendment. And if there's any more suggestions, at this moment, Tanisha, if you want to be able to provide anything that I might have missed, this is a resolution in collaboration with an organization that focuses heavily on class size. We were able to get a very thorough presentation on what does that mean and the repercussions for public education if this is not done correctly and the impact that will have in students within our district. Tanisha, if I need to add anything else, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Domingo. I just want to say that the person who came to present on Class Size Matter was actually Leonie Hemson, who has been leading this fight for Class Size Matters for over 2 decades. We are her community partners, and of course, we want to bring that information here. Class size is very important. For too long, especially in our community, we have oversized classes, which means that students are not getting the individual attention that they may need from their teachers. So we fought long and hard for this bill. I myself have testified several times for class size. I understand that Wayne has some questions. I think one question was what council, that would be the city education council, to clear that up. I also know that he wanted to know about sources. It's kind of hard to ask the person who actually has created this whole platform for sources because to us in the education field, like this is just known. But she's on a plane right now. So when she gets off the plane, I will definitely send a couple of sources to Domingo for these friendly amendments. And also, I wanted to clear up the fact that Mayor Adams has not reversed the cuts that he is making to education. What he did, because of the pushback, was restore the funding for Summer Rising just for this year. All the cuts that are fixing to go into place for 2025 are still there. So please, everyone, like our chair said, do your research because this reso should be passed by our board. Thank you.
Yeah. Steve and then Jim. We don't hear you, Steve. I think you have to come to the mic so you could talk to people on the. Yeah, Steve. Yeah, come on, take a walk, man. We gotta be equitable here. There's people online on Zoom waiting to hear your voice. Steve is jogging. That's what Parks does.
Okay, I have 2 questions. The first question is, I'm wondering whether or not there's any flexibility with the mandate to limit class sizes to 20 students in grades K-3, 23 students in grades 4-8, no more than 25 students in high schools. I mean, what happens if there's 22 students in a second grade class? Does that mean that the two additional students have to be sent to another school, or they have to create a whole new class just for the extra 2 kids? I mean, is there any flexibility?
I can question.
Go ahead.
This class size saw some mad feedback.
We're hearing your echo. There you go. Go ahead, Tanisha.
This class size mandate is supposed to be implemented over 3 years. So it went into law last year. This is the first year that it's supposed to reduce. Class sizes are supposed to be reduced by 20% this year.
I
Then next
understand that.
year,
What happens at the end of the 3 years? I mean,
they will be breaking the law. It is the law. It is the law that there should be only 25 students in class sizes, 20, the numbers. But it is now the law. The Department of Education, or if you want to call it public schools, New York public schools, they will be breaking the law. They are trying, the Department of Education is trying to get out of implementing this mandate because it's going to cost money, because we need more teachers. But we needed more teachers before.
I'm a former chapter leader for the UFT. I think I can answer that question. Yeah, if you have 20, well, the way it works with the contract. Okay.
Other hands. All right, thank you. You got it?
Yeah, I just don't think it's reasonable to have to create a whole new class if you only have 1 or 2 extra students.
Well, Steve, you're out of compliance if you have.
Okay, I'm out of compliance.
The Department of Health right now.
You answered the question. We got to keep pushing.
No,
Right.
I think it's important to educate people. You're out of compliance if the Department of Health goes to your after-school program. It's 1 to 10. So every after-school advisor has 10 students that they're obligated for. It's the same thing.
I have to start, so Jim was first. Jim, you had your question.
And a comment.
All right, so you're on stocks, but let's get to Jim because he was first.
To begin with, as a career, I was a high school teacher. And I can tell you firsthand, especially when subjects get difficult, small classes are inherently better. The students get more attention. And I was in a school where actually the advanced computer classes, the room was actually small and the classes were small, but the education that went on, the learning, that's a better word, was just amazing. Now, I want to talk about Steve's example. If the limit is 20 and there are 22 people, you don't have 1 class for 2 people. You have 2 classes of half the amount of 22 people. Yeah. And that's been the standard throughout the Board of Ed for years. So, and again, from the bottom of my heart, from the top of my head, from wherever, small classes, if we can afford them, are what we really need to do, especially with young people who are having difficulty. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now it's Barbara.
Barbara.
To echo what he just said, when I was a chapter leader, it's called doing a split. And the way the contract works, for example, 34 was the limit for a high school class. If you had 35 students, there would not necessarily be a split. Generally, a split would occur when you had 36 or 37. Then you would go to 2 classes of 17 or 18. Generally, an overage of 1 would be allowed, and that would be a thing that would be adjudicated. In other words, what was the class, what was the subject? If it was, Latin and they didn't have another Latin teacher, they might get away with it. But basically, it's called an overage, and then it's argued when the split should occur. But never would it be allowed if the limit size class is 34, let's say 20, it never would be allowed to have like 28 or 27. The split would occur at like 22 or 23, something like that.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
Luana next.
I have a question. Thank you so much for this resolution. I can't believe that 20 years later, after I worked for the DOE, we're still fighting for reduced class sizes. There's a reason why our elite public schools like Horseman, Dalton, Spence, these $70,000 year tuition schools have students 10, 15 per class. And I know this because I worked at one of those schools after public schools. But my question is, does this extend to charter schools? Because I know that reduced class sizes has been written into the collective bargaining of the teachers union, where teachers are demanding reduced class sizes in their collective bargaining. So I'm curious, does this extend to charter schools that are popping up in our neighborhoods and can find the loophole in crowding classrooms because of the no, there's no unions that can command this mandate. And thank you so much for this.
So at the moment, we have pending conversations on charter schools, and I'm gonna let Tanisha rebut in a second, but there will be more conversations around charter schools and what does it mean to be equitable in a time where there's so many gray areas. So Tanisha, if you want to respond to her question.
That's a great question. Thank you. So most charter schools follow public school rules. So I do believe that this class size mandate would include charter schools, because even though they're charter schools, they're still fall under public schools. But I will double check, but I do believe that it includes any school that's under the public school umbrella, which is also charter schools. Am I right, Barbara? Right.
Thank you.
All right, Danny has a question. Ellie put his
And
hand
And we're gonna close.
I'm gonna close it. Barbara, I'm sorry, I gotta mute you. Unless I call you, I need you to stay muted because we hear the echo. So it's Danny, it's Steve. We're closing because we still got traffic and liquor licensing. If you have a friendly amendment, then I'll accept your turn or an edit for the actual resolution. But if it's a comment, we gotta keep it going.
Are there any consequences for continuing the practice of not putting it in the website?
All right, so yeah, so what this is a very thorough and this is why seeking advocacy partners is so important, because the research is also conducted very thoroughly. We're not only talking about the reduction of class sizes, but the equitable begin a conversation of what it means when a school's at capacity, the process for which the school construction authority is going to be like what's going to be the process to identify when a new school needs to be constructed, but also a restructuring of what it means for as far as the leadership and who gets to provide inputs. So we added both community educational councils and community boards to be part of that process. So there could be a citywide, this is not only about transparency, but it's also about holding people accountable. And I think this resolution does just that where we're not just talking about what we want, but developing the structures to make it more equitable and hold people more accountable to it. So while yes, we also added the resolution. I encourage everybody to read it.
Steve, last question.
Yeah. The resolution says that the new proposed capital plan specifies new seats in only 4 school districts. I'm wondering, is District 6 one of those 4? Are we due to get more seats?
Well, and that's something that Wayne actually added as part of his friendly amendment. We will address who those 4 districts are. And once we get this information, we will share it with the whole board. But what we're saying is, I believe District 6 is, but we also have to understand a reality for public schools is public school enrollment is in a decline. And at this particular moment, the people who are keeping public schools open are the vast majority of them, Black and brown kids. So we have to be very conscious of what does that mean when we talk about equitable distribution of resources, what type of resources are needed in the classroom. So we have to be very clear when we speak on that this doesn't only speak on the theoretical aspect of it, but also like the resources and a much more thorough educational analysis of support. But Tanisha, if you want to close out and add anything else. And the reason why, and I want to be very clear, we're doing it this way is because as chair of youth and education, I made it very clear that we are looking to engage with advocates, to engage in objective conversations to address the needs of our community. So there always, every single month, there will be advocates basically providing the data. And if the data makes sense, we will follow it up with a resolution.
Thank you, Domingo. I'll just close by saying that's what I bring to the table. Education is very important to me. Education is very important to our youth and education committee. And we will be getting a breakdown of that data of our district specifically. And as Domenico said, more to come, because we will be working with a lot of people in the community that are champions for education. Thank you.
All right, thank you, y'all. We're wrapping, we have to move on. I had already said Steve was the last one, so y'all can talk on the side. Ali, I had called you earlier and I need you, if it's a friendly amendment.
No, yeah, it was a friendly amendment, but Tanisha already covered it. I was just worried about whether the resolution included any kind of data to show the real correlation between class size and impact on education. But I think she covered it. So thank you, Tanisha.
If you read the resolution, is heavily indulged in data.
Debbie,
Yeah, all right. Appreciate that.
Debbie, I need you to come down. Liz, give it to him, and then when we vote, he can announce it. Folks, we need to keep to our time. We got traffic, we got liquor, we got reports, so let's keep it going.
All right, thanks, guys. So the resolution that was passed in committee and that we're presenting to you tonight relates to traffic safety on Sherman Avenue. So in part, the timing of this was driven by a letter that the Councilmember De La Rosa did in the end of December. That related to a DOT sort of commitment to her after there were several tragic fatalities with people on our streets, but in the summer of 2022, there was one incident, which I'm sure people remember, of two young men being killed while walking on a sidewalk by a speeding car. So subsequent to that, the council member had done a walk through the area with DOT, and they had committed to sort of come back to all of us with a proposal for safety, for improving safety in that area. But that didn't happen. They've come to us with other hotspots, but not the Sherman Avenue area. But there are sort of two aspects of this, one that relates to NYPD and enforcement, and the other that relates to tools that DOT can apply and do apply with respect to traffic calming, et cetera. So what you see here has information about the increase in serious injury and fatality on our streets over the past several years, the increase of reckless driving, and the increase in traffic violence generally in the city. But you will see again in the resolve that this points to both to DOT and to NYPD, as well as, and this sort of goes to something that I think Nobles was referring to and Wayne spoke to, is that increasingly there has been, I think this has been coming up with several of our resolutions, a concern that part of the issue is mayoral priorities or lack thereof. And so there's an aspect at the end, this is going to take all of us, because we don't control everything about what happens on our streets. The state does. We can't change our speed limits. There's something, so we have, for those that are newer to the board, this board has resolved about getting home rule, meaning like we should have control of our streets and not wait for the state. We cannot put in more speed cameras, for example, as a reminder, without approval by the state. So that's why you see that third resolve. So it's a little more sort of wide ranging than we would usually do this sort of thing. But I wanted you guys to have that context. And as you can see, again, there's data about, it's kind of shocking how many hotspots are along Sherman and also in the adjacent 207th area. So in that way, I think like our area that we're looking at, it goes a little bit beyond, I think, what the council member had addressed. Any questions, Domingo?
Yeah, I would just like to add a friendly amendment, because I saw nothing there about, as like, to present a plan for improving safety along this avenue, using the appropriate tools, but also encourage the network DOT, to implement, safety improvements as soon as possible. You know, because that corridor is very,
It's so bad.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities. I know what you're gonna say, yeah.
So it's a very, issue that's very close, and I think it's just, again, like I reiterated in our resolution, we want a timeline, like, we don't want this loose path, it's like, where are gonna be the tools implemented, what's the plan, what's the strategy, and
Right.
that's what we're looking for from DOT.
Yeah, I mean, they've got kind of, it's sort of a standardized thing, so we do have that concept of as soon as possible, and what's interesting here is they said they were gonna come back to us and they didn't come back, like they committed to, and that was 2022. And it's weird because they have come in on a couple of other hotspots. So just, again, that's in the first resolved, you're saying you wanted to be sharper just in that
Yes.
part where we're saying,
If we could save a life this summer if we do this with urgency.
so you're saying sharpen, like where we say as soon as possible, like sharpen that, okay.
And also have an understanding of what are the tools and what are they gonna implement.
Oh, no, that's always part of that, yeah. Right, I think you had secondhand, what? Yes, absolutely. No, I wasn't saying that my language was sharpened. I'm just saying it's friendly was to, that was a little anemic and to sharpen it up to make it stronger. Yeah. Hi.
Hi, thank you for this. I grew up on Sickles in Sherman. My parents still live on Sickles in Sherman, and I'm gonna bring the unmentionable, which is the very tall buildings that are going up on Sherman and on Sherman and Maple. I agree with Domingo that we need to have a pressing urgency for tangible deliverables with the strip before the expensive apartments become, they start living, and now all of a sudden, people are concerned because of the developments. Like, I used to sit on the CB committee with Eli Brennan, and there's always an ongoing conversation about this with no solution in sight. So I do agree with Domingo that there needs to be a pressing urgency with tangible deliverables before the nice people like the Packers come and move in, and then it becomes an urgent matter. Yes, I'm being sarcastic, so.
Yeah, I mean, and for better or for worse, I think the, when we're talking like, I mean, they generally try to track fatalities and serious injuries. So I think everybody's kind of on the same page that this has been like a shocking amount of like all of that. Yes. Yeah.
We talk
Yeah.
about the bumps, I'm sorry, I'm not bored.
Yeah.
The bumps.
I got you. Oh, and I forgot to say, there's a whole series of typos and stuff, and Wayne sent it all over, and I didn't get it in before it was distributed to you, so thank you, Wayne. I wasn't at my best when I drafted this, so I know that there's like a whole bunch. Yeah, like as if he wasn't doing enough. Steve?
Steve, speak up, please.
In light of the tragic accident that occurred in the Bronx in Hunts Point the other night with kids who were speeding and doing donuts, that's the kind of thing that's happened in this community as well. And I'm wondering whether the resolution should reflect the fact that it's not just a question of excessive speed, but people who are doing stunts and really doing outrageous driving in the area. And if that should be
Well, I have a list in the third whereas, so why don't I add donuts? Because it is true, that is a hot item and it's happened in a few places and so let me add that there.
Domingo, go ahead, he has one more.
Just to clarify, right? What I'm saying is not solely on the enforcement and the NYPD aspect. is on the responsibilities that New York, the Department of Transportation has in designing stuff that meets the time, understanding the needs. I just want to be very clear on that. I'm not.
I
solely-
take your point. I would just say the problem has not been their ability to have a toolbox that continues to grow with tools to address traffic calming. Street design cannot solve for the level of aggressive, lawless driving that has been occurring, not just on our streets, but all across the city. So don't get me started on toxic masculinity speech, but I'm just saying there is a limit, and the NYPD does have a role in addition to DOT doing their job.
All right, we're at time.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
That was it.
That was it?
That was it. All right, those are, everybody got those edits? We're
Thank
on
you, Debbie.
licensing.
Sorry, I was like right behind you. Okay. So, Isidro, Chair, Isidro Medina, he's not able to attend tonight, so I'm speaking on his behalf for licensing committee for recommendations, on voting tonight. I think overall. Oh,
That was not your
mine.
time, sorry.
Okay. No, I thought that was my timer. Okay, so overall, no huge flags here for this agenda. If you notice, a lot of them were withdrawn either before or during the meeting. But I think something I wanted to flag for us all as members here is that we did add 2 stipulations for every application moving forward, starting here now in January. So 2 stipulations are good neighbor sign, as well as phone number for someone in management for any community concerns. So I think that's just a flag for you all. If you pass by one of these establishments and you see it's not listed or posted visibly, just keep us in the loop and then, we can follow up. We can't be everywhere at once, so flagging that. Then we did have one objection, more so, there was some incomplete documents there, and I'll say incomplete, but maybe not, but we couldn't find the reason for the alteration request, which was number 6. So I think that's pretty much it. I think in addition to the 2 stipulations I mentioned, there was some additional for, I think it was Gallego, that is indictment, like the no double parking sign to alleviate the double parking that's already a nuisance over there. So that's pretty much the overview. Steve?
In number 10,
Mhm.
was the sound limiter receipt provided as stipulated by the committee?
I don't know at this time. I'm gonna assume the fact that it wasn't withdrawn by yesterday, that it's in, but I can't
I
confirm.
believe so.
Hector.
Question regarding the 2 stipulations that you just suggested on, the neighbor sign, also the number, will you be notifying establishments that send them 30-day notice, or how would you know about that?
Well, so that wasn't something that they have to provide proof of. It was something that we're raising during the committee meeting and then following up in like our, in our little recap to them. So it's more like an honor system. So that's why I'm putting it out there for all of us. Like if you walk by one of these and you see that they don't have a good neighbor sign or a contact for management visibly posted, can be like hidden behind something. And I'll let Anthony chime in here.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that in 2 years from now, the way to think about it is because we started this year, every entity is gonna come back to us in 2 years for renewal. So maybe something the committee decides requires a submission in 2 years. We
Yeah.
can add that up.
Can I just do a point of order real quick? Sorry, I just noticed it's a new and a renewal for number 10. So just like we did last month, and I think we kind of had that precedent. If tomorrow at the office, the receipt's not there, it's automatically an objection. Yeah, we turn it into an objection. So we can vote as in.
Thank you. Hey, Liz.
I just want to put in a quick, good word for businesses 1, 3, and 5. They're good neighbors. They provide quality product, decent service, and yeah.
Yeah, the tapas. Yeah, so there's a few that are gonna be returning. If you see the calendar up front, we have like already a preview of the agenda for next month. And tentative, it may change. But again, if you can keep an eye out, and to Anthony's point, like 2 years from now, we'll have that as a follow-up question when they come back.
All right, we're
Thank
good.
you. Yeah.
Can you stop your sharing, Jess? All right, cool. So that wraps up licensing. And today was the lot, and that's good. It's 9:14. The goals always were out at 9:30. So let's see. We're gonna move on to a roll call for votes. Daryl and actually you guys should come on up here, or one of y'all should come up here. Does anybody need any clarification at all about material edits made to the results tonight? Not the grammar, not the names, not the extra details, but the material pieces to vote that you feel comfortable to vote. All right, I don't see hands, so I think we're good.
Okay, so we'll roll call on the votes. I don't know how to vote. No one knew. Okay. Jumina. Alphabet Roman. We do in person first and then.
If whatever's easier for you.
Okay, yeah, it's easier for me. Yeah. Mary Anderson. I'm going to call the online people at the end. Sorry. Jacob Banas.
Yes, well.
Radia Barnes. Wayne Benjamin.
Yes, well.
James Berlin.
Yes, well.
Daniel Bonilla.
Yes, well.
Hector Bonilla.
Yes, well.
James Bosley.
Not voting on number 3 due to a conflict with an organization that I'm a member of, and yes to the rest.
Me, I vote yes to all. Nobles Crawford.
Same on D. Yes to the rest.
Catherine Diaz.
That's all.
Domingo Estevez.
Yes, all.
Luana Ferreira.
Abstain on B, yes to all.
Heidi Guzman.
Heidi, yes, all. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Simone Hernandez. Okay. Jody Person. O.C. Kaminer.
Abstain on B, yes to the rest.
Michelle Lee.
Yes to all.
Elizabeth Loris Ritter.
Yes to all except for 3, on which I am not voting due to conflict. Because they are financial donors to an organization on whose board I sit.
Thank you. Got it. Deborah Nabavi. Hannah Nay. Carmen Paulina. Indiana Porta. Bruce Robertson.
Yes, all.
Steve Simon.
I'm not voting on A because the Marshall Mansion is a property of the New York City Parks Department for which I work. Abstaining on C and voting yes on all others.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I'm not voting on A.
Conflict, okay.
Abstaining on C and voting yes on all others.
Thanks.
Carl Onegbu.
Yes, all.
Anthony Viola. And for those online, Mary El Ali.
Yes to all.
Richard Allman. He left. Oh, thank you. Jay Baez.
Abstain on B and yes to the rest.
Thanks.
Eleazar Bueno.
Yeah, yes to all. Conflict on the transportation, traffic and transportation. Result was that C or D?
Conflict on D?
Yeah.
He works for DOC, what's the conflict? Okay.
Can you state the conflict, Ellie?
He's an employee.
For the record.
Yeah, I think I said that in the last meeting, unless I have to repeat it again.
Yes, every time you abstain.
Every time I have to repeat it, yes, it's a job related conflict.
Okay, thank you. Barbara Fraser?
She's muted.
You're muted, Barbara, if you're trying to vote. Okay, we'll come back. Maybe you're having technical difficulties. Tanisha Grant?
Yes to all, abstain on B.
Was that yes to all?
Yes to all, abstain on B.
And that was it. Did I miss anybody? Barbara?
She's frozen.
Oh. Barbara, if you want, you could call somebody here in the room. Or maybe put in the
Yeah.
chat that you can hear us, so we know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, one more. So committee reports, if y'all want to refer to your minutes, you absolutely can. Business development's not present, so Ellie is still on Zoom. Ellie?
Refer to the minutes.
All right, thank you.
Give some time.
Public
All right.
safety. Mary, can you come on up?
Yeah, extensive, presentation, like in more awareness, organization, all that.
I'll repeat it.
Restating people from prison, and, read minutes with details. However, we have also put together, and we'll be running on our next committee meeting, a resolution to support two bills that are pending, related to this organization, and, we'll present that next month. Our next meeting is February 1st, and we have a lady, Garden Bear from, is the director of the home sharing program with the New York Foundation for Senior Citizens. We'll be presenting on home sharing for seniors. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mary. I'm gonna repeat back since you were missing another mic. So Concerns of the Aging had a presentation from RAP, which is releasing aging people from prison. So hopefully next month, they'll be voting on 2 resos regarding their work. And they all have a presentation on February 1st from who is the next meeting? Yeah, okay, from them. All right, excellent. All right, we're gonna move on to Marielle, who's on Zoom for Housing and Human Services.
Refer to the minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Marielle. Steve Simon.
There were speakers, I understand, during the public session on the issue concerning the elimination of the the midwife program at the Allen Hospital.
Yeah.
The Health and Environment Committee will be acting on it, I assume. I know they will be acting on a resolution on this issue at our next meeting and bringing it before the next meeting of the board.
Okay, for our minutes and our record in January at Health and Environment, we had a presentation from NISNA regarding the midwifery services at Allen. And so they anticipate moving forward with the reso at the February meeting. So if you are interested, definitely participate online. And that's it. Wow, no COVID numbers. Bylaws.
We're going over the end of Article 11 and hopefully all of Article 12 at the next meeting.
Article 11, Article 12. All right, and then it's not here. Sorry, no, it's cannabis.
Okay. We have 3 businesses coming in front of us next committee meeting on the first Monday of February. If you want to see history in our Northern Manhattan area, that we get to review as a community, the first dispensaries and micro business to open up in our area, please come down and show your support for the awesome bit of democracy to participate in. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. No votes. Again, for the record and people on Zoom, Cannabis Task Force meets the first Monday of the month. That's what, February? I don't know, first Monday of the month, February, but thank you, February 5th. And so it's the first application. So again, same way we do with liquor licensing, cannabis is gonna be doing that. So if you care about it, watch the meeting, come in person. It's three retail dispensary and micro business. All right. Is there any old business? Oh, I'm sorry, Mary. Oh, yeah.
Thank her very much. It's a joy to have her on Wednesday.
I'm glad. Thank you, Liz. Sharing all the wealth this month. All right, I didn't hear old business. Is there any new business? I heard a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait, before we adjourn, how many did you have? All right, we got 31 votes in favor of Anthony Viola for secretary. Everybody know we all hype over here. 31. No. So we are excited for another member, another secretary. We're gonna keep pushing. So I heard a motion from Domingo, seconded by no votes. All right, have a great evening. Thank you. Look at that, 9:26 p.m. Under 3 hours, as promised. Thank you, folks on Zoom. A lot of these links are gonna be shared as well. Did the board vote for? Yes. The votes will be shared tomorrow by the office. In terms of their results, we don't have them immediately right now.